Tomorrow Never Dies is a 1997 spy film and the 18th film in the James Bond series produced by Eon Productions and the second to star Pierce Brosnan as the fictional MI6 agent James Bond. Directed by Roger Spottiswoode from the screenplay by Bruce Feirstein, it follows Bond as he attempts to intercept Elliot Carver, played by Jonathan Pryce, a power-mad media mogul, from engineering world events to initiate World War III. The film was produced by Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli. It was the first Bond film made after the death of producer Albert R. Broccoli, to whom it paid tribute in the end credits, and the last released under the United Artists label. Filming locations included France, Thailand, Germany, Mexico, and the United Kingdom. Tomorrow Never Dies performed well at the box office, grossing over $333 million worldwide, becoming the fourth highest grossing film of 1997 and earning a Golden Globe nomination despite mixed reviews. While its performance at the US box office surpassed that of its predecessor GoldenEye, it was one of the only Brosnan films to not open at number 1 at the box office. It opened the same day as Titanic and finished number 2 that week. Bruce Feirstein, who'd worked on GoldenEye, wrote the initial script. He claimed that his inspiration was his own experience working with journalism and viewing both Sky News and CNN's 24-hour news coverage of the Gulf War, stating that he aimed to write something that was grounded in a nightmare of reality. While many reviewers compared the character of Elliot Carver to Rupert Murdoch, Feirstein based the character on Robert Maxwell, with Carver's reported death bearing similarities to that of Maxwell's, and that he's missing presumed drowned on a cruise aboard his luxury yacht, as stated by M at the end of the film. The title was inspired by the Beatles' song Tomorrow Never Knows. The eventual title came out by accident. One of the potential titles was Tomorrow Never Lies, referring to the Tomorrow newspaper in the plot, and this was faxed to MGM. However, due to a typing error, it became Tomorrow Never Dies, a title MGM found so attractive they insisted on using it. The title was the first not to have any relation to Fleming's life or work. Terry Hatcher was 3 months pregnant when shooting started, although her publicist stated the pregnancy did not affect the production schedule. Hatcher later regretted playing Paris Carver, saying, "It's such an artificial kind of character to be playing that you don't get any special satisfaction from it." Actress Sailor Ward auditioned for the role, but the producers reportedly said they wanted her but 10 years younger. Hatcher, at 32 at the time, was 7 years Ward's junior, playing Lois Lane on the television show Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, where she was voted the sexiest woman on television by readers of TV Guide the previous year. According to Brosnan, Monica Bellucci also screen tested for the role, but Brosnan remarked, "The fools said no." Daphne Deckers, who portrayed the PR woman, also confirmed that she saw Bellucci the same day she herself auditioned. Bellucci subsequently had a role in the 24th Bond film, Spectre. The role of Elliot Carver was initially offered to Anthony Hopkins, who was offered a role in GoldenEye as well, but he declined in favour of The Mask of Zorro. Natasha Hedridge was rumoured to be cast in the lead Bond girl, but eventually Michelle Yeoh was confirmed. Brosnan was impressed, describing her as a wonderful actress who was serious and committed about her work. She reportedly wanted to perform her own stunts, but was prevented because of director Spottiswoode, who ruled it too dangerous and prohibited by insurance restrictions. When Götz Otto was called in for his casting, his hair had to be cropped short for a television role. He was given 20 seconds to introduce himself, but did it in 5. "I'm big, I'm bad, and I'm German." He was later cast as Richard Stamper, Carver's henchman, skilled in the art of chakra torture. Prolific composer John Barry was in talks to return to the James Bond films for the first time in a decade, but could not reach an agreement over his salary, according to his then agent Richard Kraft. Barbara Broccoli subsequently chose David Arnold to score Tomorrow Never Dies, on a recommendation from Barry. Arnold had come to Barry's attention through his successful cover interpretations in Shaken and Stirred, the David Arnold James Bond project, which featured major artists performing former James Bond title songs and new arrangements. At first, the theme songs written by Arnold himself, with the help of lyricist Don Black and singer-songwriter David McAlmond, who recorded the demo. However, MGM wanted a more popular artist and invited various singers to write songs before one was picked through a competitive process. There were around 12 submissions, including songs from Swan Lee, Pulp, Saint Etienne, Mark Almond, and Sheryl Crow. Sheryl Crow's song was chosen for the main titles. Arnold's composition, Surrender, performed by Katie Lang, was still used in the end titles, and features the same prominent melodic motif as the film's score. This was the fourth Bond film to have different opening and closing songs. Pulp's effort was retitled Tomorrow Never Lies and appeared as a B-side on their 1997 single, Help the Aged. The title song by Sheryl Crow was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Original Song and a Grammy Award for Best Song, written specifically for a motion picture or television. Moby created a remake of the James Bond theme to be used for the movie. Bond 18 was greenlit after positive public reception to the teaser trailer for GoldenEye in May 1995. Following GoldenEye's success in reviving Bond series, there was pressure to recreate that success in the next production. The pressure came from MGM, along with this new owner, billionaire Kirk Kerkorian, who wanted the film's release to coincide with their public stock offering. The rush to complete the final film drove the budget to $110 million. The producers were unable to persuade GoldenEye director Martin Campbell to return, as he had chosen to direct The Mask of Zorro instead. His agent said Martin didn't want to do 2 Bond films in a row. Roger Spottiswoode was chosen to direct in 1996. He had offered to direct GoldenEye when Timothy Dalton was still cast as Bond. Now, Tomorrow Never Dies sees Pierce Brosnan returning for the second time as the iconic character. And the film, as you would expect, is filled with adrenaline-pumping action sequences, which are a hallmark of any James Bond film. From its intense car chases to its explosive shootouts, Tomorrow Never Dies definitely delivers on the action front. Brosnan once again seems very comfortable in the role, and he brings his signature charm and wit to the role, making for an engaging and charismatic secret agent. I also particularly enjoyed Michelle Yeoh's role here. Michelle's presence as the capable and resourceful Chinese agent Wai Lin added maybe a bit more depth to the film. Her character's skills and independence were highly positive as well, and she really makes for a believable sidekick and action star. The production values are also particularly excellent in this film, with fantastic set design, special effects and stunts. And I also thought Jonathan Pryce here turns out a very good performance as the cunning and ruthless media mogul Elliot Carver. For me, he successfully embodies the megalomaniac villain type, as it were, providing a formidable and somewhat believable adversary for Bond. On the downside, though, I found this plot to be very formulaic. It really does sort of follow the standard James Bond formula, and the film did feel somewhat predictable at times. Also, there isn't really much character development, if I'm honest. While the action and excitement were, of course, excellent, some of the supporting roles were just sort of meaningless and pointless. Look, one thing I'll say about the film's story is that although at the time of writing it was supposed to be a sort of satire take on Murdoch's unaccountable media empire, the risks of such technological manipulation have since proved very much real, and not as implausible as one first thought. And the story now of Elliot Carver trying to provoke war between China and the UK, and almost creating the news so he can report on it, I feel in some ways is not as far-fetched as maybe it was back then. Look, this is by no means as strong as GoldenEye was, and in many ways it does feel like a film that was somewhat rushed, although there are some very good, strong aspects to the story that maybe could have been explored in further detail. Overall, this is a solid entry in the James Bond franchise, giving you the expected mix of action, intrigue and charm that fans of course have come to love from these films. Look, it's by no means a groundbreaking film within the James Bond series. It does have some good plot points, and the cast of course play their roles as best they can. Well made and well put together, if not maybe a little bit rushed. Tomorrow Never Dies gets a 7 out of 10.